So my film is an optical printer duet made in collaboration with a fellow filmmaker here in Seattle, which is where I'm based, John Behrens. We both own optical printers, and we're the only other people each of us knows who has one and regularly uses it. So a number of years ago, we decided to try to make a film together. So the constraints are always what are interesting in these sorts of projects. We used one roll of film. I scratched and animated it scratched and filled it with color, mostly from plant materials. Paul, I'm just saying I'm seriously into plants. And then I optically printed the roll and rewound it and gave it to John. So all he saw was the original material that I had produced that then I printed onto film. And then he did some painting on his end and then optically printed his work on the same roll of film that I had worked with. So that was how the image came together. And then the soundtrack is a little bit similar in that John is more of I think, a seasoned producer of music or sound design than I am. I do it for my own projects, but I haven't done it publicly much, and John has. So I gave him a soundtrack that I liked, which was Handpan performance by my stepson, actually, which sounded really great as a soundtrack. But again, we wanted to do something that was dual, that reflected the layering of the film. And so I gave the soundtrack to John, and then he put his own sounds with that, and that's the way it all came together. And I just want to add that this was the beginning. So we started this work in 2017. It was the first time for me that I'd really seriously collaborated with another filmmaker. And it really was in response to Trumpism in the United States and the sort of cult of rugged individualism, which is rampant in our country. So what can you do as an abstract filmmaker? Well, one thing you can do is you can collaborate. You can reach out to other filmmakers and support them, and support their work. And that was one of the impetuses for this project. So we sent it off to be digitized, and then we looked at it together for the first time. Neither one of us had seen it. There's a lot of risk involved because you don't really know. You don't know even whether it's going to work, because you're working on film and you're working with negative, and you have to send it off and get it. I think at this point, it's been a while, so I think we didn't. I often get a work print and then I continue layering in my own projects. But I believe that I don't think we got a work print on this film. I think we went straight to digital, which takes some kind of confidence or recklessness, Added the soundtrack after we saw it, and talked about what it was that we wanted to do with that. So, yeah. Well, I've been doing a lot of collaborations since this project. I've collaborated with John again on another film, and then worked with other local filmmakers, and a little bit of collaboration with musicians who are farther afield. It's a little bit easier to do that. But I'm also working on my own projects. As I said, I also work a lot with plants. Pasting plants directly onto film as a collage technique, and then rephotographing and direct animation. I do a lot of that kind of work, and various things. I recently shot I love to shoot camera rolls, so just straight through 3 minutes, 60mm film on my Bolex. I recently did that with a friend's garden, and I did 2 passes for 2 rolls of film. So I'm now trying to put together a soundtrack for that project. We'll see. I lived in New York for 10 years, and I felt the absence of the natural world, living in a environment, a really intensely built environment. And that was really the beginning. I grew up in rural Missouri, and so took the natural world really for granted. And then it took living in an intense city to bring me back around to really wanting to connect with it again through my filmmaking. So it is my first time at the festival. I've wanted to be in for years, and I'm so pleased to have a film this time around. So thank you.